Hi there, Mazda owners. Today in your 2018 Mazda CX-5, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install etrailers, Class 3 2-inch trailer hitch receiver. And this is what our hitch looks like when it's installed. The cross tube is going to be hidden completely behind the bumper, so you're just going to see the receiver tube here at the back, so it really doesn't detract too much from the looks of the vehicle. I also like that the powder coat finish on this one is kind of a more matte textured finish, which matches the plastic of the lower portion of the fascia here. Your accessories will secure to your hitch using a 5/8 inch hitch pin and clip. Now, one doesn't come included with the hitch, but you can get plenty here at eTrailer. And you can also get locking ones to protect your investments. On bottom, it has a hoop style safety chain attachment that's got a very large opening that should work plenty fine with both your small and large safety chain cables. Now, this hitch offers a 600-pound tongue weight, which is the force going down on top of the receiver, and that's going to be plenty for a 4-bike platform rack fully loaded up with 4 bikes. It's also going to be enough for the largest cargo carriers that you can get here at etrailer.com, fully loaded up to the max. Now, you do want to keep in mind that tongue weight includes anything put in the receiver, so that would be the weight of the bike rack or cargo carrier, plus the weight of all components put on it. But most of the cargo carriers top out at about 500 to 550 pounds, and they all weigh about 50 pounds or less. So 600 pounds should be plenty to load those guys all the way up. It also offers a 4,000 pound gross towing capacity, which is how much that it can pull behind it. And with 4,000 pounds available to you, you should be able to do quite a few things here with your CX-5. If you've got a small jet ski trailer, should be no problem to pull that with this. Some smaller, like a John boat, or maybe even a slightly larger small boat, you should be able to pull with this as well. Some smaller pop-up campers should also be fine. And maybe you've just got a small utility trailer, maybe you're looking to bring a mower over to a neighbor or a relative's house to help them out, you should be able to do that as well. Now, as always, I recommend that you verify in your vehicle's owner's manual and ensure you don't exceed any of its towing capacities. Now, I've got some measurements for you to help you when deciding on accessories. From the center of our hitch pin hole to the edge of our rear bumper, we're right at about 4.5 inches. And this is important when determining if your accessories will contact the bumper when inserted into the receiver, and if you can place them in the upright storage position without contacting the bumper. And from the ground to the top inside edge of the storage tube, we measure right at about 13.5 inches. And this is important when determining if you need a drop, a rise, or a raise shank on your accessories. We'll begin our installation here underneath the vehicle at the back. There's a panel here just to the inside of your bumper here that we're going to remove. There's 2 pins, one on each side. We're just going to pop that down. And you may or may not have some electrical connectors and wiring up in this location. This vehicle does not, but if I had to guess what this is probably for, is for like if you had a Power Liftgate here in the back for that hands-free activation, this is typically where you would find something like that. So once we get both those pins out of there, we're just going to pull this out of there. There are a couple of little clips right here. If you look at it, you can see there's a little tab. We'll just take our screwdriver and push on the tab, and then we can pull it down. Same over here on this side. Push on the tab, pull it down. And then there's a little close-up picture of that little tab there, so you can see that. Once we get that out of the way, we're going to go ahead and lower down our exhaust now, kind of get that out of our way as well. To do this, we're going to use a pry bar to pry off the hangers. You have a hanger here, you have a hanger here. Let's see. We also have one on the opposite side of the muffler on each side, so that's a total of 4. Before we pull them off, we want to put a strap in place to ensure that the exhaust can't fall down further than it needs to, which could potentially damage it further up. So we're just going to take our strap and hook it on the coil spring on each side, and we'll just pull our strap tight. This way we can gently lower the exhaust down the amount that we need to install our component. We are going to use a little bit of silicone spray on the hangers here, on the little rubber pieces, to make those easier to remove. After you spray it down, you can just use your pry bar in most cases, works really well. And then just find a spot where you can kind of hook your pry bar on there and just push these off of there. There we go, we got it pushed off. Now, you see how it's pushed off here? It's still hanging on there on the bottom hanger on the exhaust. You actually don't want that. So slide that off of there, off the exhaust, and we're just going to slide it back on the upper hanger. We want it to stay on the vehicle side. So I'm just sliding it back on that top one. We're going to rinse and repeat now for the remaining 3 hangers. After we removed the last hanger, we just went to our strap and we just put a little bit of slack in it, so that way we can pull it down a little bit, but we can't pull it down too far. Now that we've got that out of the way, on the side of the frame, on each side, we're gonna have some stickers that are covering up some holes, and you may or may not have weld nuts behind those holes. If you do, that's great, we can use the weld nuts. If not, we do get some fish wires in our kit to pull the bolts through just a bare hole. So we're gonna uncover them now. You can use a screwdriver or a razor knife. I usually prefer the screwdriver for the sticker, but there's also some silicone that's on a seam there, and you may need to trim that away with a razor knife because that little bit of gap that the silicone puts can really make the hitch difficult to slide up into position. So right up on the side of the frame, this is where we're gonna find one of the stickers. It's kind of just to the outside of where the subframe bolt is here. Just go up on the side and that's where you'll see it. So we're just gonna use our screwdriver to kind of get underneath the sticker. We can get that pulled off of there. It's kind of a brittle piece of sticker, so it tears really easily. And there we go. Just peel this off to reveal the hole there. And then we have another sticker that we'll need to remove, and that's going to be in this location right here. So real close to where the bumper meets the frame right here, where these two pieces are bolted together. It's just out on the outer side. That's also where you're going to see that you got that silicone buildup on the seam there. So you may need to trim some of that off as well. We're going to have to trim just a little bit of it off. So also on the side of the frame here, in between the two stickers we just removed, and potentially you may have a wire running down the side. That's what this clip is here. This is a clip that wiring would be attached to. This vehicle here must be more close to a base model. It doesn't have all the extra features, so there is no wires that run here on our vehicle, but you may potentially have wires that are running here. You'll need to pop those out because we don't want to crush them between the hitch and the frame when we slide it up there. So we're just going to get behind the clip here with our trim panel tool and just pop it out of there. There we go. And we're gonna do the same thing on the other side as well. Now we can go ahead and start feeding in our hardware. Now you may or may not need to do this on both sides of the vehicle. It just depends on your vehicle, whether or not you got a weld nut in place. But on the passenger side at the rear here in this hole, you won't have a weld nut. Now the other side, maybe. If you do, you can just use that weld nut with the hex bolt in your kit. If not, then you're gonna repeat this process on the other side. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take the fish wire that comes in our kit, this guy right here, take the coiled end here and poke it in the hole on the side of the frame. We then want to pull it down the hole in the bottom, just like that. Next, we're going to take the spacer that comes in your kit. The spacer is going to slide over the coiled end. And then we're going to thread the carriage bolt that has the kind of dome top head there. Thread that right into the coiled end of our pull wire. Now we'll push the spacer up into the hole in the bottom of the frame. And then we'll put our bolt up into the hole in the bottom of the frame. We can then pull those out the hole on the side, but after you've got it pulled out the hole on the side, I recommend just taking it and just dropping it right back on the inside, so that way when we lift our hitch up, it's not gonna hit that bolt. So we don't have a weld nut on the other side, so we're gonna repeat this procedure over on the other side now. So now we are gonna prepare our hitch before we lift it up. We're getting pretty close to being able to put it on. I've just got some clear packing tape here. You can use whatever you want, but these washers, you'll get flat ones in your kit, they need to be in this location when you put your hitch up. And it's pretty difficult to lift the hitch up, slide this washer in, and pull your bolt out through it and all that. So we're gonna use some tape to just tape it in this location. And this tape can stay on here forever. We're not gonna peel it back off. It's not gonna hurt anything being here. It's just gonna hold our washer there for us. Now, after you put the tape on it, it's going to be difficult to push your bolt through it, so just take a screwdriver or anything that you've got to poke through and go ahead and poke a hole through the tape. So we're going to try to make sure the tape stays on there, clear out the center so our bolt can pass through easily. And now we're just going to repeat that on all the three remaining holes that's on our hitch here, so that way each one has a washer. Now with the next set of hands, we're going to lift it into position. So we're going to need to push it in, try to line it up with your exhaust holes a little bit. That'll help it slide up a little easier. And once we get it up to kind of where it's above the exhaust here, we're going to have to pull down on the exhaust just a little bit so we can get this to push past the bumper. Just like that. Once we get it past, we can grab our fish wires and push those through the appropriate hole here at the back. And then we can raise it up in position. And as you raise it up, we're going to pull our bolt through. There we go. And once we get the bolt pulled through on each side, the hitch should hold itself up, making it easier to install the rest of our hardware. There we go. Cool. Now, if you were using the carriage bolts, those are going to get these flange nuts that you see here. So the flange nut will simply, you'll just pull your coiled wire off and then just thread that onto your carriage bolt. If you have weld nuts, so you're not using the carriage bolt, you have weld nuts in the frame, then you would use the hex bolt with the conical tooth washer on it with the teeth facing towards the frame. We're just going to now just line this up here, go through our washer, and then go into that weld nut. And you might have to tip the hitch up and down just a little bit to get it to line up with the weld nut. That's pretty normal. And then just get that threaded in there and started. We're then going to repeat this over on the other side. Now that we've got all of our hardware loosely started in each of the holes, we can go back and tighten them down. We're going to use a 19mm socket to snug it all down. Once you've got them all snugged down, we're going to go back with our torque wrench now and torque them to the specifications outlined in our instructions. Now we can go ahead and put our exhaust back up into position. Go ahead and rotate all your hangers so they're kind of angled down. And this is why we wanted it to be on the vehicle side, because these rearmost ones are very difficult to be able to slide onto the upper portion, because you can see the hitch kind of hangs down right in the way. So that's why we wanted those up there. So I'm just going to spray each one of them now with a little bit of that silicone spray to make it easier to reinsert. And then just simply lift up on the exhaust and just push them right back into place. There we go. They can be a little tricky right there near the hitch just because it's such a tight spot, but they'll push back on there. And at this point, that'll complete your installation. The hitch here is going to be in the way of reinstalling that small panel that was there, so we're not going to be able to put that back on. If you did have some electrical connectors and wiring that you had to remove that ran across the back, you do get a couple of cable ties included with your hitch, so you can re-secure those to a hole on the side of the hitch, just to the side plate of the hitch or something. Yeah, you should be good to go from there. And that completes our installation of etrailers Class 3 2-inch trailer hitch receiver on our 2018 Mazda CX-5.